let's make a shaker card. I'm going to build on the basic card that we made in earlier in my card making series. I will link that video in the description. But that was just a rectangle card, insert a score line, and then place another rectangle on the front. And then we had a big star. Let's arrange and move that to the front that we had on the card. So now we're taking that same star, which was 4 inches in width, and we're going to make this little frame piece. Okay. To make this frame piece, I simply inserted another star using my shapes button and made it slightly smaller. The size isn't super important. You just want it to be a little bit smaller so you have a little bit of a framed edge. Now, if you're not using a star and maybe you're using some like a puppy dog or a kitty cat, doing that slightly smaller thing might not give you a perfect offset or lining up kind of shape. So the other thing you could do is, let me just duplicate this one and bring it down here to work with to show you this process. If you start with your original shape and you use offset, but slide the offset button to the left. And so instead of an offset, you're really making an inset. So now you can see that blue line right there. That's going to be my inset. I'm going to change it from a rounded corner to a sharp corner because I want those sharp points for this one. So then I hit apply. This is my smaller inside piece. I'm going to want to save one of those smaller inside pieces off like this for the clear acetate piece that will be inside my shaker card. Okay, so to do that, I'm just going to duplicate that one, set it off over here. I'm going to change it to like a light gray so that it doesn't cut with my white pieces because I want this cut from acetate. So now to build that frame, let's do that whole, use the offset but really make it an inset process again. I'm going to slide this one a little bit bigger of a frame border piece. Let's go there. Okay, so now to create that frame, I want to slice this gray piece out of the black piece. If I were to select everything like this, it's not going to slice. You can see it doesn't even turn on. That's because I have 3 pieces selected. So I want to take that, what's it, like a light gray or light green color out. There we go. So now I can slice. I can just select those 2 pieces and hit slice. And now I can move these out. You can see I end up with a little frame piece. So a lot of people will cut this frame piece out of sheets of foam tape, which is great because then you can just have a thick foam tape piece that you can put right here. And then you put this clear acetate over the top. I don't have a foam tape. So what I'm doing is I'm actually making several of these frame pieces. So how many do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then this one over here is 10. So what I'm going to do, and you'll see in my video, I'm going to have 10 of these stars cut out of cardstock that are kind of a frame piece. And I'm going to stack them and glue them right on top of each other. So then that thickness creates a space for me to put the shaker pieces inside of. And it's a great trick to use if you don't have any foam tape available to you. So that's really it for the card. You're going to need your card base, your star shape. Either cut this piece of foam tape or, like we're going to do, cut a whole bunch of them to stack on top of each other. And then you're going to need one star that is out of the acetate to use as kind of the window so you can see into the shaker cart. Now let's put everything together. This is the base star piece, and then you can see I have the clear acetate piece. There is a Cricut cutting setting for acetate that's under custom settings. So I'm going to move this big star over here, and I'm starting with the acetate piece. I'm taking one of these little frames, applying glue to the back side of it, and then I am going to just glue that piece of acetate down. The reason I'm doing this one first is because this has to be my top layer, and I don't want to forget when I'm stacking all these other pieces on top of each other that I need one of these little frames for the acetate piece. Also, it's going to allow it to sit for a while and for that glue to really dry and harden. I don't want my frame to separate from my acetate piece, because then all of those little shaker pieces that I put inside of this could come rolling out, and that would be bad. So next I am going to start putting together the frame pieces. And remember I said earlier on in the video you could cut this out of foam tape, but since I didn't have a foam tape and didn't feel like running to the store, I just cut several of these, and now I'm simply going to glue and stack and glue and stack. This again is going to take a while, and I'm not going to do the whole thing on video, but I'm also going to let this sit so that these really harden together and make a good frame base piece, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like when it's all done. And there it is. I stacked all of those frames. You can see that's nice and thick, because our goal here is to make a thick space that when we stack that on top of there, there's a kind of like a space, an opening for these little shaker pieces to go in. Now for shaker pieces, you can use just about anything. I have used small pieces of cardstock, like little circles that I cut. I've used sequins, teeny tiny beads, anything that's going to fit inside that space. If you are using thicker beads, just make a thicker frame so that it's a deeper space that those items are going to sit in. You can see the depth in there, that there's a little, almost like a little box for things to sit in. So now it's time to fill up that space with the shaker elements. I'm using sequins. I decided to use all teal blue, so I had to first pick out all of the teal blue ones from my mixed set. And now I'm just using some tweezers to place them in there because it's easier than try to pick them up with my fingers. I'm also going to throw in something called toppings. They're almost like little tiny beads, or like the Craft World version of sprinkles, that I'm going to dump in here also. Once I'm satisfied with how filled it is, it's time to take that piece that has the acetate and glue that in place. I'm actually going to apply some glue to the back of the acetate piece and to that top layer on the frame. I just want to make sure I get glue in every possible spot so that I have a really good seal on this top piece. Because think about it, if you give this card to somebody and that top piece comes off, you got sprinkles or glitter or sequins all over everywhere, and it's going to be a big hot mess, and you don't want that. So now we just put this in place, and I say stick this on here and then leave it alone for a while. Really let that glue harden and seal. So you don't want to pick it up and have stuff falling all over the craft room. After everything is good and dried, you can pick that up. And you can see that when you shake it around, those little pieces move, which is just kind of fun. It gives some motion, and um, you can hear it rattle too, which is also kind of a fun thing if you give somebody this card. So you can either tap it around so that everything's sitting at the bottom when you give it, or move it around so it's all kind of spread out. So now the last thing to do is attach it to the card. And I'm going to do it at kind of an angle so it kind of frames those words. So first I'm figuring out the best possible placement for this star. And then I am going to grab my tape runner with the double sticky tape in it and just apply some tape to the back of the star and then stick it in place. And I'm all done and it's ready to send. So you might have to pay extra for shipping of these, because if that gets too thick, it might not go through your regular post office services. So check and see if you need extra postage. Or the other thing is to make these for cards that you're going to give in person, so you don't have to worry about that shaker card going in the mail. Before you go, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment below. I love to hear from you.